what's your most controversial opinion about the design process in India?
That's a tricky one.
Hello, hi. I am Jay Dhariwal. I'm an associate professor at the Department of Design, IIT Delhi. I also happen to be the faculty in charge of the makerspace there. And maybe I'll also get to talk a little bit about the BTech in Design program that you recently started. I'm the program coordinator of it as well. Thank you.
Morning. I'm Amit Sheth. I'm a professor at Plaksha University, and I'm also director of the Makerspace. And we have design and innovation, which includes the Makerspace component, which is compulsory for all the engineering students at the university. See, the design process is very important, and in the sense that currently the way design process or design thinking, as they call it, is being done by most institutions, large and small, is via post-its. And post-its is not the way into design process. Design process is empathy. You need to get across empathy, and meeting the users is the most important thing of the design process. Once you get clarity about your user, then you can go on to the next step of ideating, prototyping, and then the final product.
Yeah. If I can take a little longer, I don't think I'll say what I'm saying is controversial, but it's just that maybe there are different ways to look at it, and I would like to start from first principles that why do we do what we do as users or as humans? We want us to be happy, others to be happy. Likewise, Shed talked about the empathy side. So you want to understand people. When you talk of people, it's not like they just have basic needs, right? They are like, they want to be healthy, they want to be having employment, safe, financially covered, but they over and above that, they have emotions. They would they would want respect. Sometimes they want to be as good as they can be. They want to have friends. So all of this makes a human being, right? And then there are different stakeholders, no matter what context you look at, what problem you look at. So you've got to understand the context well. Once you understand it, then you scope it out that, okay, what is it that you can do? And then when you're looking for solutions, right? When you're ideating, so you want the ideation to be as wild as possible. The solutions could lie anywhere. It shouldn't be like this will be in this domain of engineering or this domain of design. You have to let yourself loose. And then why you conceptualize, ideate, you have got to figure, look at many different parameters. You have to look at it in a systemic way. If you solve one thing, but something else goes wrong, you've got to look at, of course, the economics of it, the culture, the societal aspects of it. You've got to, of course, look at the environmental side of it, the performance of what it is. So once you look at all that, then you choose maybe which is the way to go forward with. You prototype. When you prototype again, of course, it could be something to do with something you build. But then sometimes you just changing a behavior may solve things. Sometimes it may be a communication campaign. Sometimes it may be a service that you want to deliver. And then, so you should be open to all of this. And when you test, you have to somehow scientifically validate it and have a good sample size, the right representative population to figure out what you did it work? Because what you're doing, it may be affecting millions of users. That is also possible. So what I would say is that you've got to look at all these aspects, and it is possible depending on the school, their strengths. They may be doing some things well, but not the others. And so that's where I think it may tend to become controversial.
True. I would just like to add to what Professor Jai just said, that you're studying all the factors, but what you have to keep in mind is what works in some other country or another society doesn't necessarily work in the one you're looking at, right? Or the one in front of you. So, and even if you think it's a great idea, scientifically it's proven, you need to look at the cultural aspect. Will they adopt it? So the example which comes to my mind is the famous study of the iron fish in Southeast Asia, where there was a problem of anemia. And the solution was to put a block of iron into your vessel, of your cooking vessel, right? Nobody wants to put a block of iron into it, right? And later on, they found it was being used as paperweights, as door stoppers, table balancers. Nobody used that block of iron in food. Then the designer concerned studied the society and he found that fish was a huge element. So then they took that block of iron and carved it into the form of a fish, which they gladly put into the pot. And anemia almost vanished. So this is the kind, I mean, you really have to go in depth, you know. And that's, yeah, if you're going to get that iron fish to India, most of it is not going to work. We are vegetarians, right? So you need to find an appropriate solution for the society that you're working for.
Sure. So I would also say that it would also be again at the student centric. Who is it that we're talking about? Is it purely, say, bachelor's of design students, master of design students, BTech in design students, or BTech from other disciplines, or so on and so forth, PhD students? So we could tailor it a bit depending on what their needs are. Maybe I'll talk about it more in the two contexts. One is in the context of BTech in design, the program we started, and also generally speaking from what is it that NEP asks for, the new education policy of India, that everyone should know this. So first of all, I would like to say that when I talked about the design process, and Professor Sheth also added to it, and he also shared his perspectives, which I completely agree with. You can, and like you yourself said, that it could be sort of applicable to any situation, any context, any problem. So you could also think of it as a way, an approach to problem solving. And when I say that, it doesn't necessarily have to be the most challenging of the problems, right? I mean, I want to relate problem solving to something that actually helps us to be happy in our lives, have our lives being more meaningful. Or somebody who wants to just have fun, building things or playing games or things like that. So for them, probably that's the problem that they would like to be solved, so that they can be entertained. So that is one thing. Now, if you want, so the way our disciplines are structured right now, they are the more like, say, mechanical engineering, electrical engineering, computer engineering, sciences, humanities. All that is good. They are that way for a reason, and we need them. But at the same time, if a student who's interested to go deeper into a certain area, which doesn't necessarily is that, I just want to do things in electrical. There could be some people who want to be that way, but then there are others who want to look at things differently. So the path should be flexible for them to choose. There may be some foundations, some fundamentals. Maybe those foundation in our case, BTech in design course is more about learning different elements of the design process itself, and then understanding users, prototyping, ideation, testing, research methods, so on and so forth, immersing and to gain empathy. So once they do that, then they choose that, which direction they want to get into, and then we help them. And sometimes we also get to have interdisciplinary collaborations with our other faculty in other disciplines. So you will also see, so now I'll come to the NEP part of it and try to be brief. New education policy, it does talk about that, every student of the country needs to develop empathy, have project-based learning, experiential learning, interdisciplinary learning. So you would hands-on learning. So you will see that, when you look at this design process, all these elements are naturally there. You don't have to fit in things there. So I think we also need to think of a way, how do we introduce design thinking to everyone in the society, maybe adding it to a curriculum so that everybody benefits from it. And I personally feel that this is something that is needed for our 21st century. And like I think Professor Sheth said, that let's look at it in a first principles manner. What is it that we need? We don't have to necessarily try to fit into what is good in the West. Of course, we take whatever is good in the West or East for us, but then we also have to think of what is it that we really need which will work for us.
Yeah, and of course, first principles and the basics or design elements or the elements of design that is taught. We also do a lot of emphasis on inclusive design. So whether you want to call it inclusive design, universal design, to me, they're both very similar terms. essentially they mean the same thing. It's, for example, when we look at less handicapped people, we will only think of handicapped people which have no legs or who are visually handicapped. They don't realize that there are many more handicaps besides just these two. So you need to sensitize the students to the environment around them, to the, like I said, the less able people, to even simple things like, say, signage or the way a doors open, what's called Norman doors, which open both ways, you don't know which, and or it's locked one way, but there is a handle out there. Now, do you open, do you push, do you pull? People need to be sensitized about simple things like this, you know, and that's what they find very surprising. The other aspect, what we also try and do is get them sensitized to materials, right? All of us get packages from Amazon regularly, and then we just throw away those corrugated cardboard boxes. It's a tremendous wealth. There's so much you can do. And the students get surprised when within a few seconds I can just build a small stool and I can stand on it. And it's a cardboard paper, you're standing on it. You know, how does that happen? It's physics, it's geometry, right? So they have not never realized this, and that's what you want to do. Get them to understand basic things like paper, corrugated paper, then build on to stronger materials. I mean, you can go to titanium eventually, but it's not the first thing I would do. So that gets the class more excited and experiment.
Yeah. So typically, design process, when you look at it, you look at very unstructured problem solving. If there is a precise solution to it, then maybe some sort of mathematical modeling or engineering would work. But like human beings are, right? We are not robots, and so we are complex beings. And so and there are a lot of different stakeholders involved. In many cases, maybe everyone of them is right in their own way. So then, for such kind of wicked problems, ill-defined problems, so I think we've got to deal with this ambiguity and think of a problem holistically, and there could be multiple ways possible to think of a problem and a solution, and that should be okay. That's what we've got to celebrate, that for the same problem, maybe in different regions or different people may do it differently, and it may work out. I mean, so we are not precise beings, like I said. So I think, so that's what I think we just brainstorm, and with our students, we help them. There is again, in a studio mode, and they come up with their perspectives, and we give them our subjective assessment or advice. And then in the end, what they learn is basically this process, and bit by bit try to make this world a better place. I would also like to add that although in many cases we call it a human-centered design, but it could also be applicable to other species as well. So you could call it user-centered design as well. And sometimes I also feel, this is maybe my personal take on it, that we should also be considerate of what is the impact not just on the other human beings on the planet, but also other species. And the reason why I say that is because we've not been doing it so much. So the environmental crises have become so big that now it has started impacting the human beings back. So in fact, everything that you use, this pen or this notebook or this table, this cloth that I'm wearing, where did it come from? What were the raw materials? How would it be disposed of? Is it going to impact others? I know we are a long ways away from there, but I think that's where, maybe we also need to go.
Yeah, and ambiguity is something the students have great difficulty to handle. I mean, they're so used to cut and dried solutions in a linear manner, and they come and take up a course like Iraqis. This is there's only one major design innovation course across all the BTech degrees, and otherwise they are into robotics or bioengineering or data economics, CSAI, and they are absolutely befuddled. How to handle ambiguity, and that's a challenge for them. And that, I think, is a tremendously enjoyable process for them to go through it and to learn that there are many solutions for the same thing. So it's like I'm reminded of a great playwright called Harold Piter, a British playwright, and you look at you witness the play, and at the end of the play, each audience member could take a different take. or the same thing that they've watched for last, I don't know, 45 minutes. And that is the beauty of design. You know,
And maybe if I have to just add to this, maybe let's take the example of an iron that was talked about in one of the sessions of this summit. Look at different aspects of the iron. How do you improve the iron itself? But then sometimes you may want to think of, why do you even need to iron? I mean, there are some professors from IIT Bombay who talking about climate change, and then it's like, why do you need to even wear wrinkle-free clothes? Or if at all you need to iron clothes, how did people used to do it in the past? They would just keep it under their mattress or the bed and do it. So, so should you be looking at another iron, energy efficient iron? Should you be actually questioning that, do you even need an iron? What is the need? And so that's why I think it becomes very interesting. And, and the way societies have evolved, different regions have evolved. So becomes very exciting also for us. Yeah.
just to add to what Professor Jai said, history plays a huge role, right? So the study of history is very critical. Students say, we did history in school. Why do we don't need history now? History is required. You just cannot erase what you did in schooling. Probably may not have been taught in the right way. Probably the right examples of case studies were not given to you. So we at the college level, we start taking on those historical case studies and say, look, this is what happened. So if you take the case of ironing of clothes, how did they do in the past? Learn from that. Probably a lot of things which are done away time ago, if we follow them, would have less environmental issues today. And they'll say, oh, we didn't think of that. Exactly. Yeah. See, what you need to do with the students is to actually get, like I said, get them sensitized to materials, to processes, and to the requirements of the users, right? Keeping in mind the animal world as well, because what we do harms them also, right? Uh, if they keep these elements in mind, they probably end up with a better design, which is more sustainable. To stop the current issues, I think becomes more of a political and societal issue, which is probably too large to handle at the student level. It'll happen. It would happen step by step. It would take a lot more time, but at least the kind of students that we are currently dealing with, we are developing, we are nurturing. If they get sensitized of what they're doing, I'm sure we'll have better solutions like that. No, it's a small drop in the ocean, but it helps.
So if I've got to add, I'm very passionate about this subject, and the way we go about things is we try to understand that what is the state of the world right now from an environmental point of view. So there is also this planetary boundaries framework where, one of the recent papers in Science, one of the reputed journals in the world, does talk about that the Earth is beyond 6 of its 9 planetary boundaries, and climate change and global warming is just one of them. There's like novel entities and rate of extinction of species and water availability and so on. So there are many such boundaries. And so we make them aware. This is where we stand, right? Now, for our own survival or existence, we need to figure out now how do we come back to the boundaries. Once we do that, then maybe one way to look at it is just referring to the past example of the ironing. Maybe we need to question everything. Why do we do what we do? Every breath that we take, every need that we have, and not just the survival needs, but emotional needs, entertainment needs. So design teaching, design lifestyle, design entertainment, design birthdays. So, not just basic things about, how do we maybe say design a better workplace or transport option. You need a transport option in every way. And I would also add to it that what we also add is maybe if you just talk about the environment, sometimes some people would be, more empathetic to it. Maybe others may not. So increasingly, I think, at least I realized that whatever is good for our environment, my gut feeling is also good for our own health. And there is this environment health co-benefits. There's a lot of research happening there. You can use a lift very easily. I'm just talking about the young people, but they may just waste their time wanting to wait for a lift. What if they're able to take stairs? They're willing and able, and then it'll be better for their health as well. And likewise, there are umpteen number of examples. You eat healthier food, little raw food that may be good for your health, ultra processed foods, neither good for environment or health. And likewise, we can talk about umpteen number of things that way. And so, and one more important thing is what we are not aware of. The students who we teach, they take many things for a given. They've got to question, okay, we are using, say, I don't know, for instance, this, where did this come from? I mean, when I ask this, have you ever visited a farm? Have you ever visited a factory? The answer for most of them is no. So, I'll just add that I would like to say, I mean, I personally feel I'm proud of where we are. There is a lot of things we've achieved, but I would also say that maybe those who had invented these things or thought about these things at that time, maybe nobody had ever imagined that it could reach a point where it could lead to such consequences. I personally used to think that Earth is an infinite reservoir; it can just about take anything that we throw to it, but apparently not. So we need to just look at what is it that we need to keep, what we have, and what is it that we shouldn't. The answer may be into that maybe most of the things we shouldn't keep. I don't know. So we'll find out. But we should also think about this, that sometimes just changing a mindset or a behavior can also solve problems. I mean, my education has been in engineering, but this is what, coming on the design side, I've just been very amazed. That earlier I was like very crazy about engineering, computer science, and electronics, which I still am. But I'm just saying that there are other bits to it also when you look at it from a problem solving perspective, that you start appreciating that how you need to work together to go for.
And just to add, design can also play a role in the sense that besides making it more efficient and more sustainable, there's something called the fun element. How do you get, I mean, Professor Jai is not about taking the stairs instead of taking the lift or the escalator. How can I make going up the staircase or going down the staircase more fun? There are a lot of solutions. A lot of people have done a lot of things around the world, so I'm not going to explain those. How do you make people use the zebra crossing and not just cross anywhere halfway into the road, right? Or stop at a traffic, or making the 2-minute stop at the red light a little more exciting than just, being in the heat out there and then cursing. So design can play a huge role. And the fun element is very important because if it's a perfectly tried and tested method, but people are going to get bored very soon. They have a low attention span. They get tired easily. If there's some element of fun added to it, I think a lot more people will pick up these good habits and do things, and that will sort of change the world.
And just to add to what he said, I wouldn't have said it if he hadn't brought this up. We have some faculty who also teach game design. And so game design, again, if you look at it deeply, it's not just about designing digital games or board games. It's about thinking about how do we gamify a lot of situations, and gamifying could be at a much bigger level also, because people really enjoy maybe sometimes competing with each other in a healthy way and figuring out how to do things differently, and so that keeps them involved. So you've got to think how people's minds work, brains work, how do they get engaged, why are they getting so bored with sometimes the way things are taught. And so I think all these things need to be taken into account when we are designing the pedagogy of the future, which does involve a lot of elements of design, but maybe other sciences as well.
Well, I think steps are already on the way. Designers nowadays start teaching design in school. So I think CBSE is the first one. IIT Bombay has done the start with Professor Amit, right? So 8th standard onwards, design is a core subject in school. I just hope that design as a subject is taught the way design should be taught, and doesn't become just tests and quizzes, and then the whole purpose is defeated. But design is alive, and it is actually working with your hands and doing things and talking to people and meeting people. And if you have more people who start doing this, it'll really help change people to look at their environment and their surroundings and be more conscious, think sustainability, think eco-friendly, and it will help in the long run.
Sure. So what I would like to add is, it's not just about where does design go from here. I would just say, where does education or pedagogy in general go from here? And how do we adopt some of these principles for different students? We have, believe it or not, more than 25 crore students in our country. School and college students combined. And so everybody somehow needs to get a glimpse of it. And recently, I think the Ministry of Education had shared, requested a lot of institutes to submit a proposal that how do we reach all of our students as quickly as possible, because the training the trainers and all that could take time. I don't know, we don't want to take another 50 years to reach there. Sometimes what has been proposed is, could AI help in this process? I don't know the answer. We were brainstorming within IIT Delhi if that is possible. So AI, design thinking or design process or social sciences or we need to come together and figure out that what is the way forward of pedagogy. And I think it looks really interesting where we can go from there. And there is some convergence happening. The silos are getting broken, and then people are willing to talk to each other, getting a little bit out of their outer comfort zones. So I think, I'm very optimistic about where we can reach from now.